with some fantastic matching T-shirts.
Courtesy of Climate Kick, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Climate Kick. Over to you, Lauren and Cara.
The food we eat is the greatest driver of biodiversity loss and responsible for 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions. We need to change the way we grow, produce and consume our food, and it starts with data-driven impact transparency. At Calyx, we've built a tool that's making it easier for consumers, retailers and distributors make better decisions based on data. When it comes to food sustainability, it's hard to know where to start. Is it looking at your packaging, going plant-based or tackling food waste? Sustainability is being demanded in all markets by financial markets, consumers and government regulation. But who and what can you trust? Imagine if you could see the environmental footprint of a product at every step of the supply chain. It would mean making better decisions based on data. I'm Lauren. And at Calyx, we're delivering on a global demand for data-driven sustainability so we can rapidly transform our food system at scale. Our business model is also simple. Brands, retailers and distributors pay us a tiered subscription rate for our science-driven, data-backed tool that reduces the cost and complexity of sustainability measurement, reporting and communication. Our customers then use this to communicate their sustainability to stakeholders, track towards net zero, start designing for nature, and it provides defence against greenwashing when making sustainability claims. More than ever, our food system is truly global, and so are our ambitions. Sustainability is being demanded in all markets, driven by consumers, government regulation and financial markets. Our beachhead market is sustainably focused food brands based here in Australia that sell in both a local and export market.
The problem is real. Lauren and I have lived and breathed it. For the past 5 years, we built Australia's most sustainable grocery store, and we would go to great lengths to source the most sustainable products, but really struggled to communicate how sustainable they were to our consumers. As soon as we tested data-backed sustainability claims, we increased our conversion by more than 16%. At Calyx, we're providing environmental impact measurement for food brands from farm to fork. We know firsthand that farmers, retailers and food brands lack the data they need to clearly communicate and measure how sustainable they are. This is an example of what we do. Who here has bought pasta recently? It's like most likely you had no idea the impact that choice had on our planet. At Calyx, we are helping you understand that choice. We work with food brands to help them collect primary data across their supply chain. We then analyse the data and measure 3 impact metrics: carbon, water and biodiversity. Food brands can then use this to track their impact, design for nature and communicate their data-backed sustainability story. Sustainability metrics will be stored on digital certificates and can be used for procurement, reporting and labelling. The current options on the market are expensive, they are time-consuming and they are outdated. The benefits with Calyx are that you get real-time data at an accessible price point, deep industry experience, access to customers and existing supply chain data. Adding to that, we've partnered with global leading experts in the food sustainability space and supply chain modelling. This puts us in a unique position to capture our niche market and scale. Since taking part in Climate Kick Launchpad, we have spoken to over 150 food brands. We've started conversations with industry bodies at local and state government level. We've signed our first 3 customers and have commenced alpha testing, and we've secured some seed funding. Our reoccurring revenue model is projecting us to be at just over $11 million revenue in 3 years. This will give us 40% share of our beachhead market here in Australia. The key drivers of this are number of food brands and number of reoccurring subscriptions.
We believe we can reduce carbon emissions by 30% across our beachhead market, saving the equivalent of 2.5 million tonnes of CO2e annually. We will also accelerate the growth of sustainably focused food brands through true market differentiation. We're a female-founded team with proven ability to scale team businesses built on the triple bottom line: people, planet and profit. We're building a global team that can deliver impact with credibility. As we see a generational transfer of wealth, a planet in crisis and global leadership shifting, we are entering a new economic era that will be driven by impact transparency, and we will lead the way in the food sector. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Straight to the judges for questions.
How does it reduce carbon emissions? Does it mean people avoid high emission intensity?
Fantastic research that shows in the food space, if you can communicate the footprint of a product, consumer behaviour, this is over a 4-month period, consumer behaviour will change, so you can reduce emissions by 30% in that environment. So it's just through communicating the footprint, yeah.
But does that mean people still buy the pasta, but they seek out the one with the better score?
Yes, or they will change their shopping preferences as well. So in that example, the research has been showing that people will shift from more of a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet as well, purely based on the footprint of those products.
So how does the consumer, is the scoring comparing one type of pasta versus another, or is it an absolute amount of emission per unit of product, or?
An absolute amount of emission per unit of product. So our data, if you think about the ways that it can be communicated to a consumer, it's on a sustainability panel that will be on the back of packs. So Europe is mandating for this within the next 24 months. So on products, you'll have not only a nutritional panel, but a sustainability panel, so to show an exact footprint for that product, carbon, water and biodiversity. And then the data can also be used to underpin front of pack labelling schemes that are also coming out of Europe that will show more of a relative score, so an A, B, C, D or E for your product.
Right, thank you. That's exciting. Okay, yeah. So how far back does the data source trace go? Like, say if I was making that pasta, I'm buying my wheat from somewhere. I don't not quite
Every
know where.
step of the supply chain. So if you think about food, you can break that supply chain down to on-farm, the primary processing, so the grinding of the wheat or whatever it needs to get that to market, the manufacturing of that product, so turning that wheat and eggs and water into a food product, the packaging of that product, and then also the distribution of that product to a distribution centre.
Right.
Are you targeting brands that sell overseas in any way? It just seems like if the push is in the market in Europe.
Yeah. So our focus is mainly Australian-based brands that sell into the European market. So ahead of the free trade agreement that will be signed with Europe early next year, and then legislation in Europe that will mandate within the next 24 months for sustainability panel on the back of products. And then what's happening independently in countries across Europe is this front of pack sustainability label. And currently it's incredibly hard for brands to get accurate data to sit behind those labels. So there are international solutions that could deliver a similar product, but with a 60% error margin for the Asia Pacific region. So our data will reduce that error margin for Asia Pacific down to 5%. So if you're starting to pay for carbon or communicate that directly to a customer, that's pretty significant.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Big round of applause.